Some children never rebel. They never shout. They never cause problems. Adults call them easy. But what no one realizes is that these children aren't easy. They're invisible, and many of them grow up believing something heartbreaking. If nobody sees me, maybe I don't matter. This kind of invisibility doesn't happen overnight. It starts with small moments. A child raises their hand to share something exciting, but the conversation moves on before they can speak. They try to tell someone about their day, but the adult they're talking to is distracted. At first, it feels confusing. Then it feels disappointing. And eventually, it starts to feel normal. The child learns something quietly, without anyone teaching it to them. If I stay quiet, I won't interrupt anyone. If I don't ask for attention, I won't be ignored. So they adjust. They talk a little less. They share a little less. They slowly take up less space in every room they enter. And adults often misunderstand this. They see a calm child, a mature child, a child who seems independent. But what they're actually seeing is a child who stopped expecting to be noticed. Pause for a moment and think about this. In many families, the loud child gets attention. The rebellious child gets discipline. The struggling child gets concern. But the quiet child gets overlooked, not because people don't care, but because silence is easy to miss. And over time, something subtle happens inside that child. They become incredibly observant. They learn to read moods quickly. They notice tension before anyone else does. They learn when to speak and when it's safer not to. But there's a hidden cost to this kind of awareness, because while they're busy understanding everyone else, very few people are understanding them. As they grow older, the pattern doesn't just disappear. It follows them into adulthood. In conversations, they hesitate before sharing their opinions. In relationships, they struggle to express their needs. At work, they have ideas, but second guess whether they should say them out loud, not because they have nothing to say, but because somewhere deep inside, there's an old belief whispering, maybe what I say doesn't matter. Maybe it's better if I stay quiet. Maybe it's safer if nobody notices me. And that belief can shape an entire life. It can turn someone into the friend who listens to everyone's problems, but rarely shares their own. The coworker who works hard quietly but never takes credit. The partner who gives endlessly but feels uncomfortable asking for love in return. On the outside, they seem calm, reliable, strong, but inside, something else is happening. They're still carrying the quiet question that started years ago. If people truly saw me, would they still stay? The truth is, the invisible child didn't disappear. They simply adapted. They became the observer instead of the center of attention, the supporter instead of the one being supported, the listener instead of the one being heard. And that adaptation was once a form of protection. But what protected them as a child can quietly limit them as an adult, because being unseen might prevent rejection, but it also prevents connection. Real connection requires something that once felt dangerous: being visible, being honest, being known. And that's the strange twist in this story. The child who learned to disappear often grows into an adult who longs deeply to be understood, not for what they do for others, but for who they actually are. The journey back from invisibility doesn't start with becoming louder or more dramatic. It starts with something much smaller, allowing yourself to believe that your thoughts are worth sharing, that your emotions deserve space, that your presence in a room is not an inconvenience. Because the truth the child never learned is this: you were never meant to disappear. You were meant to be seen.